Red Dead Online was released on the 27th of November 2018 and was seen to be a guaranteed success following the success of GTA Online and of course the release of Red Dead Redemption 2 just 1 month before. But from the get-go, the game was struggling. Quite simply, there was nothing in the game. There simply wasn't anything to do. Players had the option to go through the main missions, which there was only 11 at the beginning, 3 of which were introduction missions. You had stranger missions for free roam, races, and a few other PvP game modes, all of which could be experienced within just a few hours of game time. And to make matters even worse, it was incredibly grindy. With each of these game modes, they had a very low payout, whereas items that you would have to buy into, they were priced incredibly high. But you have to remember, this was the very beginning of a brand new game, and players instantly linked it back to the release of GTA Online back in 2013. It wasn't until GTA started to get consistent updates where it started to improve, and players were looking at Red Dead Online thinking that the exact same thing was going to happen. The first major update was a game mode called Gun Rush, and this was released on the 10th of January. Gun Rush was quite simply a Wild West spin on the popular Battle Royale game mode at the time. It completely flopped. The second update brought in 3 new weapons, gameplay changes, and the introduction to daily challenges. It wasn't until the third update where things started to change. This update actually provided content to play through. There was new story missions, there was new dynamic events, and from this point, players would look forward to weekly content. The weekly content at this point was only discounts and bonuses, but it was so much better than what players were getting before, which was nothing. All the content here was completed incredibly quickly, but that was fine with players, because alongside this content release, Rockstar also started to hype up the very next update. This was, of course, the Frontier Pursuits. The Frontier Pursuits was released on the 10th of September 2019 and would introduce 3 specialist roles: the Trader, the Collector, and the Bounty Hunter, each of them providing a unique experience to players which will later branch out to more roles. Following the Frontier Pursuits update, Rockstar also released a Red Dead Redemption 2 PC port, allowing PC players to finally enjoy the game, and also brought mods which provided even more enjoyable content. And just 1 month after this, on the 13th December, Rockstar would follow up with a 4th role. This was the Moonshiner, the tier 2 to the previous Trader role. 2019 didn't start well. The updates that were provided didn't bring any exciting content, and the content that was there, it simply didn't last. But towards the end, things really started to pick up. This was actually seen as the peak of Red Dead Online looking back. And from this point, fans were hopeful for 2020. Everyone was saying that 2020 would be the year. And in some way it was. It just wasn't the year for having good content pushed to the game. Instead, it was a year of frustration, disappointment, and quite a lot of fan protests. Following the Moonshine update, there was a lot of bugs within the game, all of which were ignored. There was an animal spawn problem, which meant that for certain gameplay features, it was pointless. You couldn't go through them, especially when there was a whole role dedicated to you hunting animals and animals wouldn't spawn in. Rockstar never said a word about anything. They never acknowledged any of the problems, they never said that there was a fix on the way, and they never said anything about any future updates. By the time we reached June of 2020, this was when fans really started to protest, and we saw a clown protest. The idea was that players would dress up as clowns and protest within game. The message was that players are clowns for expecting an update or communication from Rockstar. And shortly after this, an update was pushed. This was the Naturalist update. The Naturalist update did provide some good content with legendary animals, but no one wanted to play as a naturalist. It's just not what players had in mind, but this still wasn't the worst part of 2020. Fast forward into the 1st of December, the Bounty Hunter expansion was released, and is seen as one of the worst updates. All new content that was part of this DLC was just reskinning content from previous stranger missions or previous bounty missions. And if that wasn't enough to upset players, Rockstar would also go heavy on the nerfs, lowering the amount of gold you would receive as a reward for completing daily challenges. And all of this was done so that they can release a Red Dead Online standalone edition at the exact same time, so that new players would have to spend money on gold because it was simply way too hard to earn it legitimately. What's really crazy is, even though this is seen as the worst update within the game, it still isn't the lowest point. This is because 2021 was a repeat of 2020, except we did only get one update. This was the Blood Money update, which was released on the 13th July. This update faced the exact same problems as the Bounty Hunter expansion. The content that was part of this DLC was just reskin content that players were able to play through back in 2019 when new stranger missions were added to the game. This was also the update where players would finally be able to play as an outlaw, except that it was completely overhyped. There was certainly outlaw activities within the game, but it's nothing what players wanted to do. Players quite simply wanted to play a Wild West version of GTA Online. They wanted to go through heists, go through bank robberies, go through train robberies, but nothing like that ever existed within Red Dead. And now that we're in 2022, there's been no new updates since. The Blood Money update was the last one. Since then, the game has taken quite a few steps backwards. Whereas before there would be weekly bonuses and discounts, it's now been changed to monthly. In early 2022, the protests started up again. This time it was under the hashtag of Save Red Dead Online. This hashtag was trending on Twitter for weeks. Game sites started to push articles around it, and fans, content creators, even outsiders were voicing their opinions on the game, but it simply wasn't enough. On the 7th of July 2022, Rockstar announced they're moving development resources away from Red Dead Online and towards GTA 6. There will be no more major updates, not like what we saw in previous years. The downfall of Red Dead Online is not linked to just one cause, it comes down to multiple. The one that most players will link to immediately is that Red Dead Online was always stuck in GTA Shadow. Even when Red Dead Online had good updates back in 2019, GTA still got the majority of the attention, with the Diamond Casino release in July and the Diamond Casino heist in December. GTA Online is the big moneymaker. It has a much bigger player base, and because of that, it gets a lot more attention as it has a much higher return on investment. This hits hard for gamers because they see Red Dead Online as having a lot more potential than a game which was released 9 years ago. What makes this even worse for Red Dead Online fans is all the content that was promised but never delivered. Fans would constantly hear about an ever-evolving world, about heists coming to the game, about new properties coming to the game, about continuous role expansions alongside new roles. It seems Rockstar never understood what fans truly wanted, when it couldn't have been any more simpler. It was just GTA Online mechanics mixed with the Wild West. Fans just wanted to be an outlaw. They wanted to rob trains, they wanted to rob banks, and with the money that they got from those activities, they wanted to spend it. But there were no updates released in those 4 years which managed to achieve this goal. There was very limited outlaw content in the game, and there are no good items to buy into. And despite all the promises, Rockstar never intended to fix these problems, and towards the end, they chose to keep it a secret. They 100% knew that the final update would release in 2021, but before that happened, they had to maximize their revenue. They released a standalone edition for Red Dead Online. They made sure that they nerfed the most recent update so that new players buying into the standalone would have to buy gold just to have the exact same experience as every other long-term player. They then built up to the very next update, knowing fair well that it would be the last, but still let players believe that there would be more future content, making sure that anyone that did buy into the game at that point would still buy into the microtransactions on top. Since the last update, the Red Dead Online fanbase has steadily dropped off and will continue to do so. There are still monthly updates which give discounts and bonuses, but it doesn't really benefit those that are currently playing. Most players already have the items that they need, so any discounts on them they can't actually take advantage of because they already have the item. Not to mention the huge currency problem that's also within the game, where most players are rich beyond belief but have nothing to buy. There are parts of the game which has been broken for the last couple of years, but now, because of the downsides within the team behind Red Dead Online, there's not enough people to actually fix these problems. And there's certainly not enough people to push a good, new and exciting update in the future. It will just be a few small linear missions. This was a game that was seen to replace GTA Online right at the beginning, and many believed that it was going to happen after playing through the Red Dead Redemption 2 story. It had so much potential, but ultimately, the team behind Red Dead Online was not able to pull it off. The only thing that Red Dead Online players can look forward to now is an announcement of GTA 6, and let's all hope that GTA 6 doesn't have the exact same fate as Red Dead Online. Thank you very much for watching this video, but before you do go, I want to let you know that I've put together a free training session which will show you how you can build your very own successful YouTube gaming channel. Over the last couple of years, I've created several channels for myself under my own personal name. I've also helped out many other clients build their own gaming channels, all of which have been able to achieve partner status in less than 90 days. And now I've put everything that I know, all the secret hidden tips, all into one training session. So if you are interested in having your own gaming channel, you can find a link in the description down below, as well as there will be a link within the pinned comments. If you click that, it will take you directly to that free training. Thank you very much for watching.